My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast, and it's the second week of Canadian Bake Off.
Wee.
Oh, God, no.
I'm trying to pander to the French-Canadian listeners.
The French-Canadian listeners might kill you for appropriating their culture.
But we're going to meet their bagels. Surely that means that we've been introduced.
There's no Canada like French Canada. It's the best Canada in the land. Anyway, so thank you for the amazing response to episode 1. Hello, Canada. And I can actually say that because I see the stats. So, hello, Canada.
No, you got to go, hello, Canada.
No, I have to say hello, Canada, because I want them to like us.
But I'm trying to, be, more worldly in my approach to...
So how did you say that again?
Hello, Canada.
That is the best Zimbabwean accent I've heard ever.
Yes. Hello to our Zimbabwean audience.
That
as
is,
well.
I'm sure we're big in Mugabe town. Anyway, so this week was bread week, and
it was.
Oh no! I stopped you last week.
Why?
Julia tried to start up again this week, and I'm with Dan Levy, or as I'm starting to, he's really good at the subtle puns.
Oh, don't get your bread rolls in a twist.
Oh shit! No, the twist came later.
Yes,
the twist came much later. The twist came in the showstopper.
Yeah, but the thing is, Dan Levy by the end of it was cracking the puns.
He was,
but he got on board.
He's subtle. He starts off slow and then builds to the climax.
He got on board the bread train.
Come on and ride it. Get ready. So this week, bread week. Bread week's always a fun week. It's also interesting, of course, because we do Australian and British, to see where things double up and to see where things are brand new. Now focaccia was the signature.
Yep.
Now, for anyone familiar with the most recent series of the Great Australian Bake Off, the first thing they did in bread week
was a focaccia.
And it was
say it like an Australian because it's Australian Bake Off. It's focaccia.
Focaccia.
Or some people, focaccia. Or some people, focaccia.
Or for some people, that Italian bread thing.
Yes.
Right. But
not the Turkish.
the Turkish?
I'll have the other one. The herbs on top.
Oh, God. Herbs. We're not American. Herbs. There's a H in there. Yes, those are the herbs. Those are the herbs. Again, if you're listening in Canada right now, you've got no fucking clue what's going on. Just run with us. Trust us. So, focaccia's the first challenge. Now, again, we don't like doing the comparison between series, but in this case, do have to admit the Australian Bake Off group did an amazing job with their focaccia.
Yeah, but so did the Canadians.
There were some really good ones with the Canadian
Linda's,
bakers.
oh my God.
Oh, Linda's was amazing.
Linda's I would have used for my favourite focaccia, right? So, focaccia. So, back in 2000, I worked at the University of New South Wales.
Yes.
Down the road was this awesome sandwich shop, and they did this focaccia with marinated eggplant, chicken, mushrooms, cheese. It was fucking divine. Do you think I can find the marinated eggplant anywhere else in the world? No. Oh my God, it's like the stuffed chicken wings that I love.
It's like the stuffed chicken wings, the Italian tomato sauce.
Yes.
And now this focaccia. Now, if you go back and listen to our bread week for the Great Australian Bake Off, and again, I do recommend that if you've just started listening to us as we do this, go back and find our Bake Off archives. There's some really interesting stuff in there. Bread week, we had a guest on, Gabby, who will probably be on during this at some point. But we were talking a lot about when focaccia first came to Australia. It was the starting point of a lot of the foodie, when the foodie culture in Australia really took off, and there is a very big foodie culture in Australia.
Absolutely. Mid-90s.
The mid-90s is when focaccia became the in thing in Australia. Now, Now, my general question, and it's a genuine question, so people in Canada, feel free. Is focaccia a big thing over there? I don't know. I legitimately don't know. And the reason I ask this is because we've sort of become acclimatised to the very crispy base, the big pocket bubbles, the sort of square or rectangle flat with a rise on them, focaccia, and we had a variety. And it wasn't a bad thing we had a variety, but it was just an interesting visual to see.
And some of the toppings were a bit heavy. as well.
There were a couple that were more pizza, and we'll go through those.
I would still fucking eat them.
I'd
Don't get me wrong.
Eat them in a heartbeat.
Oh my God.
So we began the episode with Bruno saying bread is life. Now I've had a bit of a revelation.
Bruno.
I've had a bit of a revelation.
Yes. And we also started with a gay who's not complaining about carbs. Thank you very much, Mr. Dan Levy. Because all my gay friends, it's got carbs in it, I can't do it. Sorry, they don't sound like that, but I'm just doing it. Just the campest voice I can do. Oh, get those carbs away from me, I'm ketoing. Oh.
Yes, we do have a lot of people we know who are ketoing at the moment.
Oh my God, so much keto.
It's a big problem when you go out, although it's not really a problem because that means
we get all the bread.
There's more bread. So a couple of things with Bruno that I've had a revelation with, and the main thing I've had a revelation with on Bruno is that I am
you
now...
hold these truths to be self-evident? Sorry.
No, I am now convinced...
revelation.
I am now convinced that Bruno is Stephen Page from the Bare Naked Ladies.
It's been Van Vick. Oh, I can't do a
Stop
French accent.
trying to do an accent.
I'm trying to do it.
We like our Canadian listeners.
Okay.
We like them.
Well, I'm not really insulting them because I'm not doing a French accent.
That was Transylvanian. That was good.
Was.
So,
one week since you looked at me.
It was one week since you looked at me. 2 weeks since you looked at me. Threw your arms in the air and said, "You crazy." 5 days since you tackled me. Now I've got the count. So in my head, just again, we're off the rails, but who cares?
All right.
In my head, I now have Bruno.
Yes.
As Stephen Page. And Stephen Page is doing an impression of the Count singing 1 week. It's an impression of an impression down it's rabbit hole, people. Anyway, so
Inception.
to bring it back.
Rein those horses in.
It's actually quite appropriate that, again, we go on tangents all the time. Get used to it. If you're listening to us, get used to it.
Tangents. Look, I've only sworn once.
Yeah,
so it's a pretty clean show.
And she's done a whole pile of weird impressions.
Haven't said felching yet, so...
Plenty of impressions, though. So it's actually appropriate we're on a tangent at the start because this was all about whimsy. In particular, Jude. So it began with Jude saying that... she was feeling whimsical because she wasn't going to measure any of her ingredients for the focaccia.
She was a bit rebel.
I don't know if that's whimsy, Jude. I don't know if that's whimsy or if that's just irresponsible baking.
But really...
Baking, unlike most cooking, baking's a bit of a science.
But bread is also a bit intuitive in terms of you're dealing with like a living, breathing creature once you pop the yeast in. So there is a little room there for a little bit of...
There's a little room there, but I'd vaguely measure something. just putting it out there. Maybe a suggestion for future practice.
But I loved it when she's gone, I'm going to shape it into Italy. Because they go to Italy and she even demarked like where Rome is with an olive.
I know she did, and what it turned out to be was a beautiful map of Newfoundland.
It did look like the South Island of New Zealand as well.
It was like Newfoundland and the South Island of New Zealand pushed into one in a weird world map.
Well, welcome to Hobbit Town. That's fantastic.
Oh, God, here we go. Accents again. Let's keep going. Question as well to the bakers, because I know we have some of you listening, you poor bastards. Were there any rules to footwear in the kitchen? Because there's like sandals going on there, and like
fuck your work health and safety.
We've got very strict occupational health and safety rules, and I'm looking at this going, really?
No, you don't understand. Canada's so nice that even the sharp objects, just like, you know, avoid you. Like it's like,
oh, my bad.
My bad. I'll just drop here next to you.
I'll just fall next.
Yes.
Now at this point, we go back to Jude.
Yes.
It was a whimsical tale for Jude. And then she started telling us tales of the yeast gods. Now...
Yes, they're real.
Who are the yeast gods?
Well, I presume they're the ones that rule over beer. They rule over bread. And...
so they're not keto?
No, they're not keto at all. Beer and bread, really. They're the gods of the German beer hall, essentially.
The gods of the German beer hall.
I presume they're Nordic in nature.
I assume there are umlauts over their names. I assume that much.
It would be Sven, the god of beer.
We need to get you off accents.
Why?
Because that was a great Norwegian,
Yes.
right? It's the closest thing we've had to a right accent.
Okay, back at the ranch.
Back at the ranch.
Back at the pavilion.
Now back into your realm, because we need to talk about Terry.
Oh, yes.
Now, Terry...
Now, I love the little actresses they got in to play her children.
It's really nice, I know.
It's really nice.
Now
Well
Terry...
done there, throwing us off the scent.
Now, Terry doesn't use a proving drawer at home.
No, because she usually leaves it on the bench in her North Queensland home.
Because the temperature's perfect.
And it's nice and humid up there too.
Yes, so again, it's a perfect
proving.
rise for the dough. And we didn't mention it last week. I threatened to mention it, but didn't, because I said there's something really Canadian about Terry. We'll come back to that. And we never did, because we started singing Hey Jude. But I do need to make mention of the way that they said to Terry, are you confident this week you're going to give us something good? And she apologised.
Yeah,
I think so. Maybe, possibly. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening.
She took
was
her
so
coaching
polite.
Yeah, Terry Owen took her coaching really seriously.
She's paid a lot of attention to Canada.
Yeah, she's been watching all the hockey.
Then we had Sinclair
and the Kim's Convenience,
and watching all of those things.
Yes.
So Sinclair,
all the Degrassi Junior High.
Now my question
she
about
knows when to go all the way with Stephanie Kay. She's really into the zit remedy.
That, by the way, if anyone going, they've just looked up Canadian things. No. Degrassi was kind of a big thing down here.
Yeah. And they released it all on Netflix last year. And I know it was last year because just before the Bake Off Grand Final when it was actually filmed, I'd gone through all of the series and the movie.
Because there were people at the grand final who were previous contestants, who were also very heavy into Degrassi. So there was lots of Degrassi talk happening.
We Degrassi'd it up, yeah.
So Sinclair.
Yes.
I have to ask a question, and hopefully he can answer this for me.
Yeah.
Is he in some way, shape or form related to Jeff Goldblum? Because his description of what he was doing with his focaccia, with the poking and it was so... All I could think of was Independence Day when he's trying to program the virus into the ship. The bad things happening, bad things. No. It's hey, how you going? Hey, how you going? It was very Jeff Goldblum.
Well, I'm now imagining that there's an outtake with him just lying on the bench with his shirt open.
like the model that's happening in England at the moment.
The sexy Jeff Goldblum pose on the bench.
Sabrina, who had a very good day, and we'll come back. Yes. She did her Italian pride focaccia because having an Italian background helps.
Buongiorno.
So. We'll just pause on that for a moment because that was...
She had a nonna in her ear. Now, an Australian nonna, and I can do an Australian nonna. Sabrina, what you doing? No, Sabrina. You got to put the garlic into the focaccia. I don't know what you're doing.
That is... Well, the starting point of that was an Australian nonna.
Yeah,
the end, I don't quite know. It was half Korean. But...
Okay.
Sabrina talked about having her grandmother in her ear. My thought was, at that point, I just had this really cool idea that rather than this metaphoric conversation about, my grandmother, I can hear her in my ear telling me how to do this, that she was actually wearing a Bluetooth headset and her grandmother was yelling at her down the headset. What do you think you're doing, Sabrina? Don't do that, Sabrina. Don't do that. She got Google glasses and there's a Bluetooth headset going on. That was all I could picture.
Better than me thinking that Nonna's in the proving drawer.
Rolls out the drawer. Going well. Thumbs up out of the proving drawer.
You put the garlic in? Yes,
maybe that's why Terry wasn't using her proving drawer. Because, Bob and Bindi were in the drawer.
You can do it, Mum.
You got this, Mum. Do it for Dad. So the judging.
She made a focaccia look like a stingray. Too soon.
It's way too soon. All right. So moving on. So we haven't even mentioned the focaccia that actually been cooked.
No.
So
Corey made a focaccia, and I got a bit worried about him because he's like, bread week. He almost said bread week is my week.
Well, he sort of did, and then he went, "I'm not going to go home on bread week." And I mean, don't
he didn't
say
want to jinx
that.
himself.
And James later on, as I'll mention in a bit more detail, but James. Is very aware of the jinx.
Yes.
Which is good to see, James. I'm very pleased with that, although we'll talk about your bagels in a minute.
And Julian, I liked his, what was it, the seaweed?
So let's run through them. So Corey made the Moroccan focaccia. It nearly killed.
That's where my nephew is at the moment. Hi, NASA.
It nearly killed Dan Levy.
Come home safe. Just in case he listens.
He doesn't listen.
He might.
He doesn't listen. So Corey nearly killed.
He loves me.
So Corey nearly killed Dan Levy with his Moroccan focaccia. I've backed the spice off a bit, and Dan's gone. It's good.
He's making this harissa, and out come the chili. He's just piling up.
So James's blue cheese and walnut focaccia looked really good, and then that was when he talked about the idea of the jinx and said, I nearly said it was going to be my week, but then I realised that if I said that, that's probably a surefire ticket to go home.
Yep.
Yes, it is. Well done. Well done, good sir. Jude's Italian boot focaccia. When they judged hers, they said got some bubble.
10 out of 10 on Whimsy.
They said got some bubble. Now, the thing for me was when they turned around to Jude and they went, got some bubble, I was going, rock lobster. It was very rock lobster. Yeah. Got some bubble. Lots of trouble.
Okay, I see where you're going there.
You see where I'm going?
You need to work on your songs. Like I have to work on my accent. I'm trying to find something. Give me some.
You're trying to find something? It's not working.
No.
So, look, the shape looked a bit weird and it looked a little bit flat, but the flavour apparently was...
Just like Italy.
I don't know what map you're looking at. But apparently the flavour was actually quite nice. As Jude sort of said, the whimsy kind of follows.
Yes.
Julian's East Coast focaccia was quite... they liked it. They could pick the fact that it had black pepper in it. That was quite good. Linda had a really good overall...
Well, she makes it quite often.
She made again, everything today seemed to be things that she makes fairly regularly.
Oh, she's just a bloody
She's
gem,
consistent.
Isn't she?
She's consistent.
Oh, and they're the ones you got to watch.
Traditional focaccia, and if you look, they didn't really focus on it, but the base of Linda's looked really good.
Oh, yeah.
But what did look amazing was the base of Sabrina's Italian.
Oh, and as Rochelle said, nice bottom.
Nice bottom there. So the base of hers was absolutely outstanding, and it just crisped. It looked really good. So poor Sinclair, his was okay, but there were a few slight issues with his. Terry's was a family favourite focaccia.
I know.
Kind of appropriate given that you said she had the family in the proving drawer.
Which flavour do you reckon Bob preferred? Like the blue cheese and fig, or do you reckon he was more of the tomato-based one?
I think blue cheese and fig.
That's definitely
Bob. Bob would very much be that. Bindi, however, no, I think that she'd be all about the tomato.
Yeah. Definitely Bindi.
Definitely 100%.
Surprised one of them didn't have crocodile on top, just saying.
Yeah, well, they look after them. It's about conservation.
Yeah, but when they die, you don't want their body to go to waste.
But the problem was that, for Terry, is that it looked a lot like pizza. And a couple of the Australian bakers had that problem with their ones too, where they put so many toppings on top. They're like, it's more like a pizza than it is a focaccia. Yeah. And Vandana, who I really... She made the same sort of issue she had, thinking it looked a bit like pizza. But...
blew their minds with spinach, putting spinach in the pesto.
But I'm really warming to her just in general, watching her in the kitchen.
Now, something I did notice was a bit of a Vandana Sabrina gun show.
Oh, it was. Sun's out, guns out.
Sabrina's there, Whoa, got to build up your muscles.
Those two are great. And again, Vandana, for me, just there's this little subtleties as she goes around. It's awesome watching her go around.
She is fun to watch.
And the other one who's fun to watch, and again, it's not going to be a surprise, Jude. I recommend, if you haven't watched this in a while, or ever for that matter, if you're in Australia, when you watch it, doesn't matter who's on screen.
No.
Just check the background. Because occasionally Jude is in shot when she doesn't know she's in shot. Yes. And there was one moment, I can't remember who they were talking. It was James.
Yep.
And she's behind at her bench. And they're talking to James and he's explaining something. And while he's explaining something, Jude is just standing there, not aware the camera's on her. Hands on hips, pondering the world. It is delightful. I would happily just watch a show with Jude.
They should have had Jude cam. Like,
Yeah, like the red button and Jude pops up.
like Big Brother. You know how they had, like, you could go on the website and they had different, like, you could watch the bathroom or
all the pay TV channels out here
in the bedroom.
No, pay TV channels out here give you the option of like the red button to focus on one player or whatever in the soccer or football or whatever.
Do they?
Red button. You hit the red button and up pops Jude. That could be perfect. So overall, Sabrina's was really good. Yeah, it was really there were some really good ones coming out of this. Into the technical.
Yes.
Now, Montreal bagels. Now,
I didn't know that there were Montreal bagels.
No, neither did I, because
know.
the bagels that we see out here, and I mean, bagels aren't a huge thing in Australia.
Which they should be.
They should be.
But they're always like, we get stale, friggin', like, pre-packaged ones.
We get horrible ones mostly.
It's disappointing. And I only knew what a good bagel was when my friend made them. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so delicious. She's like, and these aren't even as good as the ones in New York.
And my background in terms of eating bagels is more the New York style. So I've not had Montreal bagels. Now, interestingly enough, they talked about the idea that there's been this brawl between New York and Montreal bagels. And who better to be impartial when discussing the issue of Montreal bagels versus New York bagels than a French-Canadian judge and a judge who grew up in Montreal.
Yes, completely unbiased.
It was
coming in
down the line,
neutrality, and surprisingly in favour of Montreal.
It's crazy how that works.
I know. I love the idea of the honeyed water. I think that sounds delightful.
Well, we've seen that with a couple of other bakes in Australian Bake Off. Again, go back and find that if you can. But the honeyed water is interesting. Now, I liked the technical again because they left ingredients and instructions out. Knead until it's properly kneaded.
Which is fair enough. I would have said that as a week 3 kind of thing.
But I like that because, again, it's a bit like when first I appear, I seem mysterious. When explained, I'm nothing serious. It's like a riddle. I like that.
Being written by the Riddler, is it? Just Jim Carrey in the background in a green unitard with question marks written on it.
If anyone, by the way, knows where I got that from, please feel free to tweet me.
Because I don't.
Because, well, I know for a fact you've heard it before. I'm not going to tell you where it is from either because I want people to tweet me.
All right.
So, again, just to repeat
Please
that riddle.
him.
When first I appear, I seem mysterious. When explained, I'm nothing serious. Anyway.
That's totally The Simpsons, isn't it?
No, it's not. Oh. Moving on. We also followed up with no measurement on the honey.
No.
And no equivalence of how long you had to put them in there for, nothing on how long they had to be in the broth, nothing for how long they had to actually bake. It was just bake until baked.
Yes.
I like the fact that they wanted them, the bagel board. No, I didn't know bagel boards were a thing.
No.
But it made sense.
It's a Montreal thing.
No, but when you looked at bagel boards,
right,
they actually made a lot of sense because you see what they were doing?
No.
So the bagel boards had poppy seeds flat on them.
Oh.
And sesame seeds flat on them.
Oh,
and when they finished them, they put them face down on the boards, put them into the oven, and then they flipped them so that the seeds were on it. It was brilliant. So they all managed to sort of...
Unless you're James, in which case...
I was about to say, they all managed to make them look somewhat amazing, except for my spirit animal, whose bagels failed so spectacularly.
It's your brother from another mother.
It's true, and his bagels failed so spectacularly that the judges didn't even eat them.
Hats off, James.
I salute you, sir.
I was worried.
Okay,
I thought you were going home.
You know what that was, James? That was karma for you saying at the start, I'm going to be neater this week. Do not ever abandon your roots.
You pissed off the pavilion gods.
Your roots, like mine, rest in a messy kitchen. The second you try to be neat, doesn't work. Doesn't work. Can't do it. So, and I like when they were talking about the measurement on the honey.
Yeah.
And they were all trying to work out the measurements on the honey. And Vandana, for me, had the moment where she poured her in there and looked at the camera and went, nah, and shrugged. I don't know. It might be right. It might be right. I don't really know.
Honey's in there. It's hot water.
So, James, unsurprisingly, came 9th because they couldn't taste them. Corey was 8th. Vandana was 7th. Julian was 6th. Sinclair was 5th. He seemed a bit shocked by the fact that he was 5th. Sabrina was 4th. Linda was 3rd. Again, she was just consistent across the board. Jude amazingly was 2nd.
the whimsy came through.
No, but she argued no
that's
whimsy.
right, there was no whimsy. Oh.
She saved all her whimsy till last, which meant that Terry, once again, first, she's had a really good run.
Yeah, Bindi and Bob are just clapping in the proving drawer.
Yay, Mum! It's like, can you let us out, Mum? It's really warm in this drawer. It feels like Townsville. So then we got the showstopper, which was a sweetbread centrepiece. Now, we've seen sweetbread on Australian Bake Off. We've seen it on British Bake Off.
They made?
I had babkas before. Well, most of them have made babkas. A couple of other people didn't make a babka.
They made a bunt.
So
that's right. You made a panettone.
You made a panettone.
Hey, Antonio.
It was a babka challenge, and one of the contestants made a panettone and didn't go home.
No.
Interestingly enough, didn't go home. Still controversial. So anyway, it was a sweetbread centrepiece. In our last bread week that Australia had, we went with a pull-apart centrepiece.
Now, I don't know if you have them in Canada, probably not, but Australia's got a bit of an institution. It's a franchise called Baker's Delight, and one of the staples there is a pull-apart. Now, you can get yourself like an onion-based pull-apart, an olive-based pull-apart, cheesy mite pull-aparts, all kinds of pull-aparts. It's basically just bread kind of lumping together with some kind of tastiness, and you literally can just pull it apart.
Before I move on to this, can you do me one favour?
What?
Can you explain to the Canadians what the hell cheesy mite is?
Okay, so cheesy mite is Vegemite with cheese. Okay, so when I was growing up as a child, one of the staples for lunch was a Vegemite and cheese sandwich. I'm got to be on white bread. I will still down one if I, feeling particularly whimsical as I'm older. But yeah, Kraft single, Vegemite and butter. So a cheesy mite roll or a cheesy mite scroll or a cheesy mite pull apart is essentially Vegemite with some shredded cheese through it.
Okay.
It's melted in.
So let's explain a couple of things. First of all, this show is very pro-white bread. Incredibly pro-white bread. As former Great Australian Bake Off winner Olivia said, white bread is bread. Brown bread, wholemeal, it's not bread.
No. Look, I'm just pro-bread. Whatever the most appropriate bread is for the dish, I'm pro it. I'm like, bring it on. If you've got gluten intolerance but you still want bread, you've got to have a gluten-free bread, I'm pro that. I'm just equal opportunity bread.
Wholemeal for no reason, though, is a crime.
No.
It's
exactly,
a crime.
yes.
It's a crime against humanity. And I will not stand for it. No one at the washing up will stand for that crime.
It's not healthier.
Far more importantly.
Wholemeal is not healthier.
But far more importantly, Vegemite.
Yes.
This is directed completely at our Canadian cousins.
If you're ever going to try it,
do not, under any circumstances, grab a spoon, scoop it, and eat from the spoon.
This is not fucking Nutella.
It's yeast. It's yeast.
It's the shit that came out when it's left over from making beer, right?
So, what often happens with the foreign contingent when people sample Vegemite is that they go, oh, here, try some Vegemite, and they give them a spoon with Vegemite on it. And
stupid.
That is no.
Here's my favourite way, all right? People tell you to have it on toast, you scrape it on with some butter, then Vegemite scraped on. No, get yourself some Turkish bread. Toast that bitch. Just cut it in half, toast it up, then put your butter and Vegemite on, and it soaks into it.
See, it's delightful. For me, I can't, like you said about cheese and Vegemite sandwiches, I cannot do a Vegemite sandwich, personally.
Why?
For me, I can't do one.
What are you, American or something?
Let me explain.
Oh, my God, he's American.
I can't do a Vegemite sandwich, and I can't...
He votes for Trump.
And I can't...
Don't give me that look. Okay, I retract that statement.
You better retract that statement. I can't do a Vegemite sandwich, and I can't do Vegemite on anything that's not toast. Vegemite on toasted bread, there is something with toasted bread that just makes it work.
Yes.
Also, you do not take Vegemite and just coat the bread.
This is not Nutella. I cannot stress this enough.
Right, people make that mistake.
Nor is it peanut butter.
It's not, right? A thin spread on...
You just get a little bit on the tip of your knife.
What you should aim for is a little bit of an indent in the toast, a little bit of an indent, because it will indent because it's quite a firm substance, so it will indent your bread a little bit.
Good vitamin B, great salt.
Yeah, it puts the rose in every cheek, as the ad campaign has said since the 1940s.
Exactly. Ask my mother.
However, moving back onto what we're supposed to be talking about, which is the showstopper and sweet pull-aparts.
Yes,
Sweet
okay.
breads. So, James was really happy to suggest that they will be happy to put this in their mouths. Which was a step up from what
Something he says to all the ladies.
Which was a step up from what he did with the bagels, right? Big step up from what he did with the bagels. Here. So, let's go through them. Corey, that tree of life.
C&B action all the way.
Okay.
He knows how to bring all the gays to the yard. Because, like, Dan Levy's like, oh, you need a hand with that?
So you've got...
I know it's supposed to be a tree.
It was a tree. And it was... okay, Corey started something as well that...
It was a very big tree.
Corey started something as well, though, that I was amazed by with this challenge. Cross-sections.
Oh.
This is possibly the best cross-sections I've seen in Bake Off for a very long time.
It was cross-section porn city.
It was amazing.
Oh.
When they cut through that tree, it just looks superb.
Even Jude's, which had a raw layer in it, looked delicious.
Yeah, and the paint pot, and I did say to you at the time, I went, I wonder if Jude's done too much.
Yes.
Because it looked like she'd done too much, but... Nah, even though there was a bit that was raw, the flavours were good, the cross-section looked incredible.
Yep.
James's Middle Eastern Star Bread. Oh, and the shine that he got on that, and that layer upon layer upon layer of cross-section was absolutely superb.
And, you know, Bruno's comment of he mastered his dough was spot on. Like, the way he just divided that up, twisted it and shaped it. Because that's not, you know, like, that's not plaiting. That is, you know, you have to set it and then just hope to God when it bakes, it just comes together. So
you know who did plait, however? Linda.
Oh, Linda.
That flower basket with the chocolate and the...
Linda, can I become one of your grandchildren? Can I just be your foster Australian child?
That'd be fun, because the braiding... There was some really good braiding. Sabrina made a bread basket that was incredible. We've seen a few bread baskets over the years on Great British Bake Off and Great Australian Bake Off.
It doesn't make them any less spectacular.
They're always amazing when they work, because we've seen them fall apart. We've also seen some where they've made the handle, the basket supports its own weight, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
Sabrina's was on the incredible side.
Yes.
Looked brilliant.
And the buns on the inside, tasty.
Perfect.
And as you pointed out, you know, it's technically an apple pie filling, and apple pie was invented in Canada.
It's Canadian. It's Canadian as apple pie. Terry.
Yes.
Now, Terry was very clever. I think apples go together with sugar, and I think they go together... Yeah, they really do. So she had the caramel apple centrepiece with the braiding, which was just...
I couldn't find a bad centrepiece. But you know whose my favourites was? Julian.
I was about to get to him.
He called it Kraken, but I know it's Cthulhu.
Release the Kraken!
I know it's a call of the old ones. I know they're just some priests on the shore summoning up his bread centrepiece.
There was so much to Julian's. The cinnamon buns looked incredible.
And every component had its own story, you know what I mean?
That's what Bruno said, that you've consistently told a good story.
Yeah, you know, it's kept to his East Coast roots, but each piece, so like from the fried tentacles to the braiding on the outside to the actual Kraken in the centre, were each separate components with its own texture and its own technique. So
I was also highly impressed by Vandana's the winter melon
and walnuts
with pistachio as well. It was
that's right, pistachio. Sorry,
it looked amazing. It was a Bruno who went, you know, I like it when you give me flavours that I've never thought of.
Yes,
and again, it looked incredible.
Yeah,
it looked like something different, and it just looked delicious. Is what it looked like.
Yes.
That brings us to poor Sinclair. Now Sinclair spent all of his energy and all of his time making puff pastry.
He did. And it's not a puff pastry challenge. You floored it, Sinclair, unfortunately. You know, like Flora from about 3 seasons ago, Great British Bake Off, was like, okay, I've got to make a chocolate cake, so I'll start with 600 macarons.
And now I'll make a twirl. And now I'll go over here and I'll make some spun
baguettes.
sugar and a baguette. And have you made the basic cake you've got to make it? Not yet, but I'll get there.
Yes.
Right. The puff pastry pear.
Great idea.
But it was too much.
It was too labour intensive. And to be honest, it didn't make the centrepiece. Like,
no.
you could have done something else in the centre.
Because if you think about it, like the bread had a little bit of doughiness to it, so it wasn't cooked properly. And again, that's a follow-up feature of the puff taking so long, and then the puff was raw, so it was translucent. So it just didn't work, man. So unfortunately, that meant that Sinclair was going home.
I was a bit relieved because Jude was in the firing line as well.
But it's sad to lose anyone at this. We say this all the time, but legitimately, 2 weeks in, this sucks. Now, for those in Canada who have never heard us before, we've proposed many times that the first week of every series of Bake Off, a plant needs to be in there that goes home. So no
sacrificial
one leaves.
baker.
So what happens is someone from production pretends that they're a baker and they go, like, week 1, it's going to be an icing challenge, and they send home the production person. So everyone gets at least a week.
And they just go back to holding a boom mic.
Yeah, exactly. So
you just have them there in the post interview holding their own boom.
Yeah, doing their own shots. So we've put that forward. Apparently, it's against the rules. But stupid production. Anyway,
what do they know? We're the fans. We're like your customers. Customers always right.
We love your production.
We do. You guys do an awesome job.
We love you.
What do we know?
What do we know? Well, let's think a bit. So it was really disappointing to lose anyone. Sinclair has been so much fun in the couple of weeks.
There will be a hole left.
There definitely will be. I will miss his intense stare at randomness.
But actually, it had the same expression tonight when he was getting positive feedback. So
it doesn't change. Does not change. So
following you on Twitter now, Sinclair. So Baker's got to bake.
So thank you for all the interaction. It's been really good. Obviously, to get this feedback. We've had some really good feedback. Again, the bakers who have taken their time out to tweet us. Thank you, guys.
Yes.
We legitimately, it's made us buzz all week. We will be aiming to finish this series.
Yes.
In time for season 2.
Yes.
So
cannot wait.
We've kind of made a bit of a decision there. Because, and again, how are we going to access this? Well, the ether will hopefully provide. We can't.
We just pray to the television gods.
We pray to the television gods and hope that they deliver us episodes of season
TV
2.
Dinner.
Because British Bake Off's going to be a while before it's actually on here, because they're going to finish that. And Australian Bake Off will be a bit of a while until they show that out here.
Yeah.
So we've got some time, and we're having so much fun. We absolutely love the series.
Yes. It's so good to watch. Like, the bagels, they aren't technically good TV, but they were beautiful to watch because of the people.
Yeah, what Dan Levy said was true. When he turned to Jude and he went, "Thanks for making great television," like mockingly. It's true. It wasn't good television, but
the bagels themselves, in terms of
in terms of watching those bagels, there wasn't much to it, and you can tell that by the fact that the challenge sort of skipped over the bagels.
Just got straight to the people, which is what we love.
Here come the bagels. Oh look, there's some honey. She turns them over. Well, that was a bit of an anticlimax, and done.
Yeah.
So the bagels as a challenge to watch weren't amazing, but as a technical they were brilliant, and they made you hungry. So I mean, it was an interesting week, but we've had so much fun with the interactions, and we're having so much fun with this show that we're just going to power through it.
Absolutely.
And put some episodes out between now and the start of season 2. Hopefully, potentially as well, maybe talk to a couple of people.
That would be great.
So if you happen to be listening to this and you're one of the Canadian bakers, you might expect...
Coach me on my accent.
You might expect a message in the near future.
Tell me how good it is.
You know, don't lie. Also, thank you to some people, in particular Terry, who gave some lovely recommendations for Tragically Hip songs. So, which we did ask for. And again, feel free to continue to instruct Kristie on all things Canada.
Yes.
I've
got a good grounding.
At Muse Madam K on Twitter. It's very easy to get in touch with her and tell her all things Canadian.
Yeah, like what flavour Tim Hortons should I start with?
Yeah,
when I go to Canada.
Start with a Timbit.
I'm not asking you. You're not Canadian. Okay. I'm asking the Canadians.
Okay.
All right?
So let us start with Timbits.
I know you technically like your hockey and all that jazz.
Tell her to start with Timbits.
No,
anyway.
Just don't listen to him. Just do you.
Just do you.
Just do you.
So we will be back. I'm not even going to say next week because it'll be before that.
Yeah.
We will be back with another episode of this.
Very soon.
Until next time, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we will catch you all later.
Who's this going, eh?
I don't know what that was. I'm so sorry, Canada.